In this segment, you'll see how to install the dump pivot bracket, dump control rod, and tilt stop brackets. Begin by inserting a cotter pin, part CC, through the inside hole in the shaft of the tilt anchor assembly, as you see here. Wrap the legs of the cotter pin around the shaft using your pliers. Then slide a washer, part LL, onto the end of the shaft. Now apply a thin coating of automotive grease to the end of the shaft and install the pump pivot bracket part 18 with the long handle of the bracket facing outward. Slide another washer part LL onto the shaft and secure everything in place by inserting a cotter pin part CC through the small hole in the end of the shaft. Wrap the legs of the cotter pin around the shaft using your pliers. Next, you'll install the dump control rod part 11. Here's how. If you examine both ends of the dump control rod, you'll see that there are inner and outer holes. Take two cotter pins part BB and insert them through the inner holes at both ends of the rod. Using your pliers, wrap each leg of the cotter pins around the rod. Next, you'll attach the dump control rod between the dump pivot bracket and the bucket. Before you begin, note that the dump control rod has a bend in it. Place a washer part II onto this end of the control rod and insert it through the large hole in the dump pivot bracket, as shown here. Slide another washer part II onto the end of the control rod and secure the rod and washer in place by inserting a cotter pin part BB through the outer hole in the rod. Like you did before, wrap each leg of the cotter pin up and around the rod using your pliers. Now, slide another washer, part II, onto the other end of the control rod and insert it through the pivot hole in the side of the bucket. Place a washer onto the control rod and push it up against the inside surface of the bucket. Secure the rod and washer in place by inserting a cotter pin through the small hole in the end of the rod and wrapping both legs of the cotter pin around the rod. The last step in this segment will be to install the tilt-stop brackets to both sides of the bucket. To do this, place a tilt-stop bracket part QQ against the outer surface of the bucket with the foot of the bracket facing down. Align the mounting hole in the bracket with the mounting hole in the bucket and insert a carriage bolt, part J, through the holes, fastening it in place with a small washer, part FF, and a nylock nut, part R. Do not tighten the nut just yet. Repeat this step and fasten the second tilt-stop bracket to the other side of the bucket, but remember to leave the nylock nut loose for the moment.